I'm Greg Johnston, CEO of Carl Data Solutions, an industrial Internet of Things company that provides big data solutions for monitoring critical infrastructure. Carl Data offers machine learning and predictive analytics features through our cloud-based applications to deliver key asset-saving operational insights from massive amounts of data. Carl Data trades on the CSE, symbol CRL, and the Pink, symbol CDTAF. For more details on Carl Data, please visit carlsolutions.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sean Brodrick. He's the senior editor for WeissGroup.com. Welcome back to the show, Sean.
Thanks very much for having me on.
Canada, the U.S. finally inking a tentative trade agreement. What's your view on it?
Well, the emphasis is on tentative. I mean, yes, we now have the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, which is going to replace NAFTA. And in fact, this is a solution that I talked about in a column weeks ago. Just let Trump rename NAFTA whatever he wanted, and you can have the same agreement. Sure enough, that's basically what they're doing. Yes, there are some changes to milk and stuff like that, and also car parts, but nothing major. Just the fact that he gets to rename it makes him happy. But it still has to get through Congress, and that isn't going to necessarily be the easiest thing. Now if it is passed by Congress, that won't be until 2019. And why is that important? Because we're having an election between now and then. I don't know if the Democrats would be for or against this trade deal. I think many of them may be as protectionist as President Trump is, but others may not be. So there is a potential for a little chaos there. So people should keep that in mind. It's a tentative agreement. It isn't finalized, and we'll have to see how things go.
And it still has steel and aluminum tariffs against Canada. Does that need to be fixed so that American producers can get affordable heavy materials to build things?
Well, certainly, certainly Mr. Trudeau thinks so. In fact, he says that's one of the things that Canada is definitely going to work on. But again, nothing happens quickly with this thing. So if it is fixed, it probably won't be until at least the first quarter 2019. Maybe the second quarter. I mean, certainly enough companies down in the U.S. have been complaining bitterly about the tariffs on metal. And they've done studies showing that there's really very few jobs added by these tariffs. It's just a pain in the butt. So I think that could happen, but it won't happen quickly. So people have to step away from the thing like, oh, they finished this. No, they have not finished it at all. It is tentative. It still needs to be passed through both houses of Congress here, and anything could go wrong.
Also, too, if you have factories return to the U.S., don't expect jobs. I think it was Adidas shut down their plants in China, throwing 1 million people out of work there, and they employed 60 people to replace them in one big plant in Germany. The rest is all robots.
Well, we are all going to be replaced by robots, and the government isn't doing anything to prepare for that. But at some point, that is going to happen. So, that's yet another big social crisis, a huge mega trend that I write about from time to time, and it's out there, and it is getting closer all the time.
What have you said in your articles about robots taking our jobs?
Just the trends are enormous. You can see it happening in places like Korea and stuff like that. It's only not happening faster in China because they fear social unrest. And it is going to happen in a huge scale. There are ways to invest in it. We have one pick right now that's not doing too bad. I'll probably add more as time goes on. The problem is many of the robot stocks tend to be expensive, but they have bad news every now and then, and that's when you really want to buy them.
Mm-hmm. Is the tech sector doing better? And I guess that would include the robots.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's a really broad brush, the tech sector. We can also break out how the smaller cap companies are doing versus, the huge names. and those that have a domestic component compared to those that import everything from China. Because I'll tell you, while things are smoothing out with Mexico, with Canada, with Europe, things seem to be, turning the corner there. With China, it's just getting worse. I mean, it's one thing after another. China says it will not negotiate with a knife to its neck, and we'll have to see how that goes. But there are still plenty of tech companies that could be hurt by a worsening trade war with China. And, of course, those who pay the ultimate bill are consumers, because it's not like those companies care. They're just going to pass that stuff along. I mean, they'll care in like some aspect of it, but they're just going to pass along the cost. And how that will work out, well, we just saw with Ford, by the way. Their average cost per unit has gone up $1,500, and that is tanking their sales down 11%. So we are going to see inflation. This is inflationary. People have to prepare for that. And come Christmas time, things could be a lot more expensive than many people think.
We'll have more with Sean Brodrick right after the break.
Arctic Star Exploration, operated by a team of proven mine finders, is focused on diamonds in Finland and the Northwest Territories of Canada. Work programs are underway in Finland and Canada. Arctic Star trades on the TSX Venture Exchange symbol ADD, on Frankfurt symbol 82A1, and the OTCQB symbol ASDZF. Please visit our website arcticstar.ca or call us at 604-689-1799.
Cypress Development Corp's flagship lithium project is located just east of Albemarle's Silver Peak mine in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. A 12-hole exploration drill program for lithium-enriched claystone on Cypress's 100% controlled properties is now underway. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange symbol CYP, the Pink's CYDVF, and on Frankfurt C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sean Brodrick. Just before the break, you said just before Christmas we could see things more expensive. Would that happen soon enough to affect perhaps the election results in the U.S.?
It's hard to say. I think maybe, but the latest polls out show that everyone is really fixated on the Supreme Court nomination that the U.S. is having right now. And I mean everyone in both parties. And it could turn out the vote in like both parties quite a bit, the fact that we're having this fight right now. Usually the midterm elections, which is what these elections are called, in other words, non-presidential election years, usually the midterm elections actually have a very low turnout in the U.S. I don't think that's the case. Everyone seems to just be really excited about this, no matter which side of the political aisle they fall on. And so, yeah, prices will go up, but I don't think that's going to be a big thing in it. It's just really, there are some deep core values, and you're going to see value voters on both sides coming out in this election. And so, what does that mean? I mean, for things like deals that are currently being worked out with Canada and stuff like that, the new NAFTA, but beyond the new NAFTA, I think most Democrats probably want friendly relations with Canada, but the thing is, can a disjointed Congress and president, if they're at odds with each other, can they continue to make successful negotiations with other countries? That could be problematic. So it looks like more chaos. That said, right now, chaos is actually helping the U.S. because we're seeing money flow out of Europe, which is in all sorts of chaos. And where that money is going, it is, as we speak, this is Tuesday, it is going into two places. Precious metals and the U.S. dollar. We're just seeing money flow into those things. So we have one of those rare instances where we have gold and the U.S. dollar going up at the same time. I don't expect that to last for long because since gold is priced in dollars, they're usually on what I call the seesaw of pain. As one goes up, the other gets hurt. But for right now, we are seeing people really worried over in Europe. And so because of that, money is flowing into precious metals and is flowing into the U.S. dollar.
Speaking of Europe, some chatter out of Italy that perhaps they'd like to go back to the lira And I remember the days of the lira and how shocking it was to receive a bill that said 50,000 on it and finding out it was worth about $45.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is it's not just chatter. It's Claudio Borghi. He's the economic head of the ruling League Party. That isn't just chatter. That's actually someone who actually has some weight in the government. And he said Italy could have a brighter financial future outside the Eurozone because he said that the euro is just not working for Italy. Now, many people have made that argument over the years, including Larry Edelson, who I used to work closely with here at Weiss until he died. He always said the euro was flawed because of this reason. But this kind of thing has just sent, like, the Italian bonds. I mean, the Italian 10-year bond yields went to a 4.5-year high on this news. That's because people know, you know what, the guy who's making these statements can actually do something about it. So keep your eyes on that, because I don't know if someone will talk him down off the ledge, or if other people in the Italian government will hear that and say, you know what, that's a great idea. Why haven't we done this already? It'll be very interesting to see what happens.
Well, a low lira would certainly help their tourism, and both Italy and Greece depend heavily on tourism. And I could see if Italy does it, then Greece and Spain likely would look at it too, wouldn't they?
Yes, but here's the thing. Would this affect the trade agreements that they have with the Eurozone? Or else could they just move to a separate currency without penalty? I mean, that would be the $20 billion question. You don't really know, because I don't think Germany would let other countries go back to their own currencies without really imposing some penalties on them. But maybe enough countries, if they got together, could actually do this. Because I can tell you right now, it really doesn't make economic sense for these countries to be in the euro, because that is a club that Germany wields and just, steamrollers anything in its way. It makes sense for them to be in the European Union, and it makes sense for them to have the trade agreements, but it really works against them to be handcuffed to the euro.
Well, Italy, I think, also wants more control over their borders with neighboring European countries. Is that not the case?
Well, yeah, but also especially control over their borders with the immigrants from Africa coming in. I mean, because they get stuck with all these people and they have to pay for them and stuff, and like Germany is the one insisting, well, you have to let everybody in, but you don't see Germany paying extra money for this. So that's like, that's been a problem for years, seems to be getting worse. That could play into this, as people have resentments over that. That could actually feed into the whole currency squabble. So things are not settled in Europe. Things are probably going to get more unsettled, and that should feed into that force that I was talking about earlier, which is good for precious metals and good for the U.S. dollar.
We'll have more with Sean Brodrick right after this.
I'm Douglas Mason, CEO of Naturally Splendid, symbol NSP on the TSX Venture Exchange. Naturally Splendid is a biotechnology and consumer products company focused on the global cannabis and health markets. Naturally Splendid is expanding distribution in this rapidly growing market with products currently in Canada, the USA, South Korea, Germany, and Australia. To view our comprehensive company presentation and for more information, please visit our website at naturallysplendid.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sean Brodrick, going back to Europe once again. Is that where most of the money now is flowing from to go into the U.S. stock market to keep it high?
Recently, that's what the flow of funds have shown, but that can change on a dime. We could start getting more from Japan and stuff like that. So at least at the current time, yes. But again, that can change rather quickly.
Mm-hmm. Pepsi announced today that it is not going to get involved with marijuana, at least not right now, whereas Coca-Cola is said to have explored talks with some cannabis producers. What's your position on it?
Yeah, well, that was surprising. Maybe that's contributing to some of the weakness in the cannabis market today. Though, frankly, it's been so hot for a while, a pullback isn't that unusual. It's actually kind of a good thing. What Coke has been talking about is hemp oil and having new beverages that contain hemp and like stuff like that, and which is good, because that's more likely to be descheduled before cannabis is, because cannabis is a Schedule I drug, which means that the government looks at it as bad as something like heroin. So we are starting to see nibbling around the edges. For example, there was a thing that just came out recently saying that that now the government may it's the FDA actually says that CBD oil should be descheduled. In other words, it shouldn't be in that same Schedule I category. Many people are, talking about the potential healing effects of CBD oil, and it's helped kids and all sorts of stuff. And so that could go sooner rather than later. It's a nibbling around the edges kind of thing. Against all this, we have to keep in mind, Jeff Sessions hates marijuana, hates anything to do with marijuana, and he is appointing federal prosecutors who share his views. Therefore, we could see some pushback from that small committed core of the U.S. government. They could do something wacky. So we're still in an unsettled time. You can see why big companies like Pepsi actually want to hold off for a while and not do anything with it right now, because they don't know what the law is going to be. Other companies, Coke is one, Constellation Brands is another. They say, you know what? We can see the opportunities. We want to take that risk because just the profit opportunities are huge. I actually wrote about this on the Edelson Institute recently, and you can go check out the columns there. There are different companies, profit opportunities that could do very well. Right now, we are seeing select stocks take off whenever Wall Street clues into the fact that they are some kind of a beverage maker, or they could be a beverage maker, and they could do something with cannabis. Just these stocks, share prices get blown all out of whack, way too high. But there are other small drink makers that Wall Street hasn't clued into yet, because Wall Street's rather clueless often about the small stocks. They just don't get them. And so those are some that I just told my subscribers about yesterday. There are some opportunities in the small space, companies who are actually doing things along these lines, that when Wall Street does wise up, those stocks could go ballistic. At least that's what I'm hoping.
Is something going on with lithium right now?
Yes. Right now, we are starting to see some activity in what you might call leading lithium stocks, that they're really starting to get a bid. This could have something to do with the fact that the lithium surplus that had been predicted by some real doom and gloomers for quite some time never materialized. At the same time, there are more new battery plants being built, as most people know. But the amazing thing about it, I was just reading some stats on this, is that the size of the new battery plants is just huge. They're becoming colossal. And what does that mean? That means they're going to need more lithium, more cobalt, more nickel. It's just the way they're going to ramp up is just enormous. And we see the demand in China. We see the demand in Europe. Even in the U.S., we see demand here as well. And because of economies of scale, the prices of the batteries are actually going down, which makes these electric cars more and more attractive. So we are getting to that tipping point, that switchover thing, much like we had in the early 20th century, where everyone was riding horses, and then everyone wanted an internal combustion engine. Well, the internal combustion engine is on the way out, and we are getting that tipping point where everyone's going to want an electric car simply because it'll be cheaper, it'll be safer, and if they can just get the convenience factor down, when it gets convenient enough, you'll just see a mass migration to something like that.
Sean, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you. I had a great time.
My guest has been Sean Brodrick, Senior Editor for theweissgroup.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. If you have any questions for Sean or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.